And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming back at you here for the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could like, share, subscribe, subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Pop Culture Cosmos, PC Multiverse, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the State of Pro Wrestling. That one's coming out real soon with John Orlando and I are going to be talking some really good things here in the not too distant future. And of course, everything that we do right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, plus a huge, huge shout out to all the radio stations around the world that have played this for all these years right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend, indeed, of all pop culture collecting. He is the man behind HappyHoarderCollectibles.com. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the Happy Hoarder, wherever you get your social media, and of course, HappyHoarderCollectibles.com. It is, of course, Josh the Great, aka Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
All right, so I had this thought the other day, and I wanted to ask you about it. Kobe Bryant.
When the show starts off with those words, I had this thought. Watch out.
Kobe Bryant. All right, that's what I'm starting here with. The Lakers. Okay. All right. His last contract, I was doing a little digging this past week. His last contract was worth $83+ million for 3 seasons. Okay, I got 2 questions for you. One, do you think that is worth it? Because I think football players, like, they have kind of high contracts too, but they play more seasons onto it. Same thing with hockey players. I think they go on for, like, most of them are 4 or 5 years on their contracts. Do you think that number is too high? And knowing how much Kobe Bryant was making, how much do you think the owner of the Lakers club was making?
Well, those are all good questions, all very careful questions I have to answer because I do host the Lakers Fast Break, but the audience that we have with the Lakers is very fickle when it comes to anything Kobe Bryant. So when you say something that's even remotely negative in regards to Kobe Bryant, get a lot of anger thrown your way. And I'll just say
nothing negative about Kobe. Like, I love Kobe.
Well, I got to tell you the truth. I have said this on the show before. Everybody knows that Kobe had an outstanding Hall of Fame worthy career, but the last 2 or 3 years he was, on the decline after they won the title in 2010. So it was a salary that was given to him, a contract that was given to him, partly because he could still play at a good level, but partly of it was that you stayed with us this entire time with the organization. You truly appreciate it. It was a employee appreciation contract to some degree for what it did. Now, at the time, based on what it took to sign him for that, it did kind of hurt the Lakers overall because that contract took so much of the salary cap. It was very hard for the Lakers to build a contending team at that point in time with him on that contract. So there was some issues there. Now, the Lakers themselves are the second or third, whichever you go by. Usually I go by Forbes. They're number 3 most valued team in the NBA and one of the most valued sports teams on planet Earth. And now when it comes right down to it, they might be the most valuable because they don't own their own arena. The top 3 teams, Golden State, New York Knicks, and the Lakers, they're the one that doesn't own their own stadium or arena. So they actually may be more valuable in that sense, you could argue, than the other 2 teams. How much Jeannie Buss, who is the governor of the Lakers, at that time, I still think it was a process. I'm not sure if that time I think it was in the hands of the brothers or in the hands, still at that time, if he was still alive, Dr. Jerry Buss. I know Joe would probably tell me often about my co-host Joe Sorrell, but be that as it may, I don't want to get into too many vernaculars, but it is a very valuable team, Josh. Their merchandising and their licensing alone is one of the top three sports teams on the planet with the Yankees, with Manchester United. They're known all around the world. They're huge, absolutely huge in the Philippines. And for that matter, yes, they could go ahead and just Kobe Bryant selling Kobe Bryant related merchandise probably paid for itself. I'll just leave it at that during
Yeah,
that period of time.
yeah. I've always been really curious about that because I kind of think about it too. Like when you go, a lot of these basketball players, they have their own shoes. You have the Air Jordans, the Kobe Bryant's, Tracy McGrady had the T Max back in the day. But when you go buy clothes, you're paying. If you want a pair of Levi's, right, you're gonna pay top dollar for them. If you want a pair of like Urban Outfit or whatever it is that they sell at Kohl's, you're gonna pay probably half, a little over half what you'd pay for a pair of Levi's. So in basketball, in football, I know they don't pay the names mean nothing once the players are like injured or they're on the decline. Same thing with hockey. But in basketball, it seems like a lot of the time they're paying that the salaries they're paying for the names, they're paying for the brand that comes with that name. How
They
much of
are.
that do you think is involved, not just like Kobe Bryant, but with like LeBron James and uh, I don't even know who's still playing anymore. But yeah,
Well,
how much of that do you think?
LeBron James, yeah, he actually is still going to be playing. He's about ready probably to sign a 3-year extension, according if you hear to the rumors here in the not too distant future. So he's going to play most likely well beyond 40. But when it comes right down to it, the NBA is a star-driven league.
Yeah.
They are really out there with the best players in the league, and firmly, firmly put that in your face, whether it's the NBA doing it, Nike doing it, Adidas, whatever, Under Armour, whatever shoe company or outfitter that is going to go ahead and be a part of what they're doing as far as the league is concerned. But the league is very star driven by familiar faces, brand recognition. LeBron is very careful about that as far as his brand is concerned. That's why he's become the first NBA player to reach $1 billion status during the course of his playing time. So Jordan himself, he has made billions after just on his deal with Nike and the Jumpman logo in and of itself. So yeah, it's with the NBA, it's very, very lucrative. It is still not the most popular sport. I mean, soccer, aka football, around the world, and then also as well, football here in the States are still much more popular than it. But since the NBA really derives on a star, you can see my face up close and personal league. Now with even more international stars along the way, such as Luka Doncic, who just in the finals, it just seems like that the NBA with a new contract, a television contract that they're going to sign, worth billions of dollars, that is just looking up and up. So yeah, it's just the money is always there for the NBA.
Yeah. So what got me on this rabbit hole, I guess, is the fact that I was looking up values of sports cards. I have stuff from the NHL, stuff from the MLB, stuff from NFL, and NBA. The cards that I have that are worth the most are basketball cards, and they are worth probably 3 times as much as any of the great sports cards in the other areas of sport, whatever. So I just the NBA is a really interesting machine if you think about it.
Absolutely. Although the collectibles market, especially the sports card market, it's just so weird because and it's very top heavy with a lot of rare cards these days that get produced intentionally for the collectibles market. Yet there's a
Panini, man.
lot of variations for each sport now. Baseball, basketball, football, they all have like not just one, or in the case of baseball, they had like tops, Donruss, upper deck. You can name like three or four, and then there you go. Now it's just like they all have like 10 brands available that produce sport cards for these different sports, and it's just like it waters everything down unless you get to the ones that are like autographed, that are like a one of one or one of five, one of 10, very few on the planet. Those will always be valuable, but it's the everything else that just this market that I've seen is just blown up, but
Yeah.
it always hasn't blown up in the right ways.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to pick your brain on that because I don't know anyone else that likes to
Uh,
dig into basketball like you do. So I
no, no
appreciate it.
worries. Thank you. One of my actual most valuable cards is a Fleer Charles Barkley rookie. So that's
Oh,
something. But
dang.
I'm hoping, because I got a ticket of it, I may be one of the few on the planet, if the only person on the planet, that has a ticket from the Victor Wembanyama Scoot Henderson matchup that they faced off against each other before they became pros. And Victor Wembanyama, as we know, may be that next star for the next 10 years. So if that ticket, which I've got encased right over here, becomes valuable, that may be the one I cherish the most. But we'll see. We'll see.
The one that'll get you into retirement status, right?
That's what I'm hoping for, my friend. Just like the internet today, that's what I'm hoping for, my friend.
Yeah, all right.
Multiple fingers crossed on that. So,
This
Josh and I have got a
podcast
lot to
is
talk about.
brought to you by T-Mobile, right?
Exactly, exactly. T-Mobile. I'm praying for my T-Mobile to stay up today, but we'll see. Switching over to T-Mobile to see if it works out. Right now it's holding strong and steady, but it is Josh the Great Peterson along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Today we got a great show. We're going to be talking about a huge second week opening, as far as a second weekend for a movie, the one of the biggest of all time. We'll talk about that here in a second. Josh will have his thoughts on the Nintendo Direct that came last week as we end pretty much this flurry of announcements from all these publishers and developers. So get some final thoughts on that from him. And then he has a facing the franchise that he has in mind, but he hasn't told me what that is. So he has a surprise for me, and it will also be a surprise for you. That's coming up on the air as well. Truly appreciate you joining us. Once again, it is Josh the Great Peterson along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. If you have any comments or questions on the collectibles market, how is it now at this days? I can't say it's blown up, but well, it has blown up more than what it did in the day. But my gosh, there was a period of time, Josh. Like I said, I've told you before, most of my collection came in the wax junk era, where they call it the junk
Uh,
era.
yeah, they
Yes, where
overproduced, right? That was early
yep,
1992 or something around there. They have you
late
go.
late 80s, early 90s, yeah, and most of my stuff from that time is worthless. So be careful what when and where you buy your to time frame you buy these cards from, because yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
not
you can
always
actually
great.
go to any like most of the sports stores out here have them, but like you go online and you look up like baseball booster boxes or whatever they call them in the hobby and the sports card collecting world. You can still find complete unopened boxes from that era, like anything from like 87 all the way to 93, and people are selling them for like next to nothing because there's hardly anything in there that's worth anything.
Yep, and that's the problem. I know a friend and I, we were put some money into it. Not a whole lot of money, but we put some money in it. We're going to start Stan going to, and actually did a couple shows back in the day, and yeah, we were really going to get hardcore into it. Then we realized it just that the value of it and the money of it wasn't really kind of materializing the way we wanted it to. So I've hold on to quite a bit of it over the years, and it just sits there. I'm looking at it now, right below. It's just sitting there, not gaining much in stature, just gaining much more in dust, I should say. So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, the big risk you take as a collector yourself. Before we hit the break, I mean, look at the pops behind you. just think if the Pops market falls through and just like that, man, that
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
bode well.
So I don't know. Did you hear the stories of? I think it was last year. Uh, Funko overproduced like some by some like number units that nobody wanted, and so they ended up having to bury a bunch in a landfill in New Mexico. You know where all the Nintendo games were, or whatever. I don't know if
Oh,
it's the
right
same
next to
place,
the
but
ETs.
yeah, right, right. But even looking at it now, like there are some pops that with the little exclusive tags, you get anything with the exclusive tag, the odds are high that's going to be worth something. But a lot of the commons that don't have any stickers and they just mass produce them, they rarely hold value even after the pops themselves are retired. So like I have some stuff from like Demon Slayer because they're always like, oh, if we do the obscure characters, people the collectors will want them. But once all the collectors pick them up, the casual fans are gonna look at like, who is this guy? Like, why would I want to buy that? And then like I have some pops back here I've been sitting on for forever because nobody wants them. So yeah, the collectors market's kind of a crapshoot with pops, especially.
That's hilarious that you said that because immediately Atari ET popped into mind as
Yeah,
far as the landfill dynamics. And they proved there was a documentary that
mm,
proved they
Ernest
were
Klein, yeah.
there. It was like this myth. I don't know. People knew about it, but didn't know about it, weren't sure about it. And then they actually did a documentary to prove there were games that were buried in that landfill in New Mexico. So now they've got some pops right there next to ET. So
Yeah.
very interesting. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is crazy. Some of the stuff they put out is gold, but most of the time you're just getting that you're getting pyrite or fool's gold.
it just hurts me though that as someone who Atari was the first main, I got Pong first, but Atari was my really first true love in video games. It just hurts me to see all these retro game stores, whatnot, Retro City Games, other stores I see online, YouTube, whatnot. They're just like, sorry, Atari, it's just not worth a whole lot. They are the wax junk era of
Mm.
video game collecting.
Yeah, for sure. What's actually really weird to me now is
Breaks
that
my heart, man. Breaks my heart.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy sad that a lot of the stuff that and a lot of these things like Atari especially, there's Atari, NES, Famicom games, like all this stuff during COVID, the value of it skyrocketed because everybody was home and everybody wanted to play video games. But now with this looming threat of physical media going by the wayside, the retro game values are plummeting, and the newer games, especially like RPG titles are starting to go way up.
360
So
games are going up because
yeah,
the
it's
marketplace is closing on the Xbox Series X and S.
isn't
So
that that's
360 games.
insane. Yeah, like all the stuff you used to be able to get for like a dollar, $2, now you're paying, $5, $6. A copy of Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade you used to be able to get on sale at Best Buy every other week for like $20, and now the game itself is worth $180.
I'll tell you what, my friend, it's interesting to see how this lays itself out. Again, it hurts me so much that Atari has been put by the wayside, all that. Maybe one day people will find a new love for Atari. We'll see. And even ET. Who knows from there? But
Who
if you
knows?
have thoughts on your collecting, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, Josh, a huge second weekend for Inside Out 2, my friend. My God, it got one of the highest second weekend openings ever for a movie that opened already over $100. It looks like it landed squarely at the 100 million mark domestically. And I'm sorry to tell you this, my friend. Let's have a moment of silence for Dune Part 2, which is no longer the highest grossing film domestically or worldwide for the year 2024 because Inside Out 2 has beat them on both. Your thoughts, my friend? Inside Out 2. I'm very happy for Pixar. I've got a friend that works at Pixar. I'm very happy for him and the success that they are now having again. It reinvigorates the Pixar brand. For Disney, absolutely got to be happy for them. But your thoughts on the huge, mammoth success of Inside Out 2, which looks like it's going to be hitting $1 billion within the next 10 days.
Yeah, not can't say that I'm surprised because I've been hearing a lot of people talking about this movie, and looking at it, it's again, like I said last week, it's one of those movies that appeals to everybody. Like its message is not just meant for one or two different groups of people. Like it's meant for everybody. Like the movie is a commentary on what it's like to be human and how we deal with our emotions. And I think that it is reaching a massive audience, and I good for them. Good for them. I don't, however, hope that they expand this into like 10 movies. Do you think that we're gonna end up seeing an Inside Out 3?
I think you can organically, just because the way we are as humans. I think there maybe, I don't know, could there be two more? Could you do, like, let's say in adulthood, like, 20s and 30s ish type deal, running a family, getting anxiety there, or trying to deal with family issues, getting married, or something like that. And
Oh yeah.
then your last one, a Toy Story 4, aka Inside Out 4, could be when you're a senior citizen getting closer to that magical point of time where, you pass on
Yes.
into the netherworld.
Say goodbye. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that
I
would
can see
be.
organically that working.
Yeah. Oh, it's possible. I mean, I that would be crushing. Like I don't know how many parents would take their kids to see that, but maybe the kids who are watching it now, same deal with like the people who went and saw Toy Story. Could you could be onto something.
If Up handles being a senior citizen and passing on and things of it the way it did, I think Inside Out, what, 3, 4, whatever they do, that covers. I think they could. Pixar probably, if any movie studio or outfit could probably handle end of life the best, because it should tell. There should be something out there that teaches kids about end of life in a constructive and organic way like that. That I'm just saying that it just maybe it
Yeah.
would be a helpful guide, because it just seems like it's a big unknown right now for a lot of kids.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But we also live in a society where, there's all these things out where people want to live forever. Like everyone wants to be immortalized in their social media or whatever medicines. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen those. There's been a lot of things coming out lately where people are talking about ways to like transfer conscience over, or there's like a machine that came out. I don't know if you saw the little trailer, not trailer, but someone's patenting this machine that can like do head transplants, and immediately I'm thinking about altered carbon. But
Yeah.
it's society is teaching people now that like we can put a stopper in death, but I don't think it works like that.
Well, Freddie Mercury wanted to live forever, with the Highlander theme, but that didn't actually work
So,
out for him real well,
this
did
is
it?
true, and we don't know, like Walt Disney might still be in cryo sleep, so who knows, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true. But we're going to hear all these things that are going on, wild stories, crazy rumors for the future on whatever celebrity or public figure for the rest of time now. And that's great and all. But I think that it wouldn't be such a bad idea for
No.
a end of life story to cap off this entire series, because then you could really say it's finished off for good, the Inside Out series. Because like you're hearing
Yeah.
rumors of a Toy Story 5, or you actually, I think you told me that the Toy Story 5 is listed on the
Listed
way.
as, yeah,
Yeah,
July 25th or something of next year, I
yeah,
think.
exactly. So if that's the case, Inside Out 4, or whatever Inside Out would deal with the end of life issue, if it did, then it stops right there. There's nowhere else to go for Inside Out. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
all set.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that, I mean, honestly, like I think it'd be great. It's really nice that with like even Inside Out 1 and 2, like we can talk about these polarizing topics in a constructive way that teaches you not to be afraid of things like that, like your anxiety or anger, fear, whatever it might be, which is great because that's kind of makes room for kids to have constructive conversations with their parents.
I think Pixar again does a better job of that, dealing with these sensitive, delicate issues better than anyone. Like I said, Up, Turning Red, and other films like it, Incredibles 2, some of these other Pixar movies, Turning Red, Up, Soul, they deal with sensitive and delicate issues in a really constructive way. Coco, as well. Yeah, that also dealt with end of life. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
again, I think they can do it. I think there is an end game for it. And now that Inside Out 2 has reached to a level where it's going to be $1 billion movie, the fact that it could earn more than Super Mario or Barbie because it had a stronger second weekend than both those films, there is that realm of possibility. Yeah, I think you're going to have to go ahead and see if they're going to space it out though. They're going to space it out probably over the next 10 years. You'll probably see two more, I'm guessing, two more
Yeah. Oh,
because
I'm sure.
Pixar doesn't like to do things very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I I would hope too that they don't just focus, like I know we talked about the failing the failing of some of these newer IPs that they keep coming out with, but I hope that that doesn't stop them from trying, because of like Inside Out too, they found something that really connects with the human race in general. Like I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from this film.
Well, you know them. Now that they've got back their cachet after struggling themselves, but now that they've
Mhm.
got Inside Out 2 hitting huge, they've got that cachet with Disney to go ahead and do the projects that they want, Josh. So I don't see that to be a problem. Like Elio is a 2025 movie. That's a brand new IP. Yes, we've got Toy Story 5, like you're saying, in 2026, but Elio in 2025, that's a brand new gamble for them that they're willing to go ahead and make, and they have the cachet to do it now that they've made so much money on Inside Out 2, and Disney's just going to ride with them all the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they will.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's going to be a great time for this summer now that we finally have a hit on our hands at the movie theaters. Also, want to go ahead and mention Bad Boys, Ride or Die. That's also doing very well at the box office. That shows some staying power as well. But it is, of course, Inside Out 2, now the biggest movie of the year for 2024. Please let us know your thoughts if you've seen the movie or what do you think is in store for Inside Out in the future. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. It is Josh the Great Peterson along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. All the radio stations around the world, always a big thank you from us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Josh, the Nintendo Direct, we did it on Monday. It came out on Tuesday. I talked a little bit about it with Melinda on the Friday show. I want to ask you, because you are a gamer at heart and as an owner of a Switch, Nintendo fans are very lenient as far as what they're willing to accept and what they appreciate and like. And it just seems like there's different standards. That's something I talked about on Friday as far as different standards between a PS5 Direct, an Xbox Series Direct, and a Nintendo Direct. Nintendo Directs, they could just throw out a couple Zeldas, Mario's, a couple Marios here and there, and everything's groovy. But then you get, of course, to Metroid Prime 4. That, whether you're a Nintendo hater, a Nintendo like on the fence guy or casual, or a Nintendo hardcore, You got to admit that whenever it decides to come out, if it's on the Switch or the Switch 2, it's going to look pretty good itself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know so it's funny if you think about it, like Nintendo can really do no wrong in the eyes of the fans. They
Yep.
It's not a matter of like what can I play on my Switch? It's a matter of like when will I get to play this? You know, and Nintendo just keeps popping out remakes and remasters and things like that. The
Some of
Mario and
them don't
Luigi
look
Brothership
good,
game.
Josh.
No,
Some of them
they
don't look
don't,
good.
but like you won't find Nintendo fans like complaining about that. If it was because Xbox and PlayStation have created so much not controversy, but like fighting between the two fandoms like that, there's a lot of room for error with them. Everyone's going to hold them under a microscope, but with Nintendo everyone's like, oh yeah, there's a new Zelda game or Metroid. They're like, there's a new Metroid game, but it's not coming out for 4 years, but they're still going to love it. They're still going to sit there and wait patiently. Like Nintendo could re-release literally anything and people will be like, oh, that's a smart move, Nintendo. It's such a crazy, like, the if you compare and contrast the three companies, Nintendo is like this golden child, and then Sony and Xbox are like the two twins that are always fighting, and one day they're gonna end up burning the house down.
Like for instance, your kids or my kids, we would have, or like in the what was it, the Iron Claw, where
Hmm.
the character playing the father Von Erich said, "Oh yeah, I've got favorites." So he started pointing out his kids in order. Now, thank goodness I don't do that, but let's say I did. Nintendo, that's the one that supposedly looks like they can't do anything wrong, no matter
Hmm.
how, like this new Zelda game. Thank God they're putting out Zelda as a protagonist. That's fine. I really have that. But the cloning techniques, ooh, I can clone a table. Ooh, it's got it's a 3D isometric down view that it looks like it has graphics back from the Wii era. It just they're willing to let go so much in order to go ahead and have it be a part of the Nintendo scene because it has the word Zelda in front of it or Mario in front of it. The Mario Party actually looks like it's really good and fun and creative. That I like to see. But then you had a Nintendo Luigi RPG coming up as far as that's I don't know how that will that one will do. It just again the third parties. Let me ask you this: on the third parties, is the third party lineup for the Switch, some of it's still good, but is it start to looking in some cases? I'm not going to throw out any names, but we did earlier. Funko, is it starting to look like the Wii shovelware era?
you know I don't feel like it's quite gotten that bad, but it's definitely seems like it might be heading in that
It's on its
direction.
way.
It's on its way, yeah, where you're gonna literally find like a Nintendo game for everything out there. And I think they've heard the criticism on that and they've been trying to hold back as much as possible. But those are just physical releases though. Like you go on the Nintendo eShop and like there's a butt ton of that stuff out there. Like you find these like $2 to $5 games. Yeah, and there's like a ton of Barbie games. There's all these like my pet games or whatever. Like the Nintendo marketplace looks just like Best Buy's shelves did when the Wii shovelware were coming out. And that's I don't necessarily know if that's something to be proud of, but as long as they keep putting out Mario and Luigi games of any type, people not really look at that in a negative way, I guess.
And again, there's some really great titles coming out to the Nintendo Switch. Great to see that in its swan song of its final year or years, however you want to put it, before this Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, that it's actually still getting a lot of love from Nintendo, and it's greatly appreciated. Did, but it's so funny when you look at it. It just the fact that it gets so much love for games that are looking good, some of them not, like the Donkey Kong Country HD remake that did look anything like an HD to me. It still looked like it was very low res. I am happy about the games coming to Nintendo eShop, like you said, as far as the 17 plus. We still live in an era in 2024 where Perfect Dark and Turok, the 64-bit versions, the N64 versions, are still considered 17 plus. How hilarious is that, my friend?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a process for going back and re-rating games though, much like with like movies these days. PG, you could be watching a PG movie and all of a sudden there's like a nude person walking across the screen. You're like, oh, it's so weird. Don't look, mom. Or vice versa. But yeah, I don't know if there's I don't know. I don't know. You know what's crazy to me though is that in the entire run of the Switch, the Switch came out in 2012, somewhere
Oh,
14.
the Switch came out 2000.
16.
Is it
16.
yeah, 16. I think it's 16. I'm gonna check. I'm
Yeah.
gonna check right now. Okay,
Yeah, it
I
was,
think it's the same year we debuted. I think it's the same year we
2017.
debuted.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
17. Okay.
2017. But you know what's crazy? In that
March
whole
3rd,
span of time,
2017.
Mark, that's right, yeah. In that whole span of time, there was not a single new Donkey Kong game to come out. And I don't,
Mhm.
but we're just now getting like a Donkey Kong Country Returns. We're getting a Donkey Kong remake, but there were no new Donkey Kong properties, no brand new ones. We had the remake of like Tropical Freeze. Everyone was expecting to at some point have like a Diddy Kong Racing, but I think Nintendo kind of messed themselves up when they got into bed with Rare and had them work on these other games and create these other characters. So kind of messed up the world of Donkey Kong. But still, it would have been great. I know Rare is owned by Microsoft now, so I don't know what that
Mhm.
would look like, but it would have been really cool to have like an original Donkey Kong game come out on this era of gaming.
Would have been. I would have enjoyed it thoroughly, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know what Xbox is doing with Rare at this point in time. I know the Perfect Dark game
Sea
on
of
the
Thieves.
Xbox that's going to eventually. Yeah, I don't know where that's. I don't think it's being made by Rare. I think it's being made by someone else. I think that right now, what we've got from Nintendo Switch was pretty good. I give it overall a B. I don't know how you felt about it. How did you get went for Nintendo overall? Again, mind the little bit of drawbacks here and there. The Funko game, the HD remix, which didn't look so HD. Otherwise, I think some pretty solid stuff in there. I gave it a B.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely a B, maybe like a B plus. I mean, there's definitely some things in there I want to play. I'm really interested in the Dragon Quest, HD 2D remakes, and I do want to check out the Mario Luigi Brothership. I'm excited that Fantasian is finally coming to consoles because you know how I feel about mobile games, man. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean there are definitely some winners in there. There's also a lot of like Wacky World, Looney Tunes, Wacky World of Sports, and Hello Kitty's Island Adventure. Like there's a lot of things on there that I sat there thinking to myself, like, why would you waste valuable time in your show to show these games? It reminded me of that one Nintendo Direct. Remember where they wasted like 15 minutes on the backyard wrestling game?
Yes, I do remember that. That was quite funny for someone even as a big wrestling by myself. It just, yeah, did not look good. But what can you say about their direction now is pretty good. Yeah, just at least they don't have to pay $350,000 to go on, Nintendo Direct like you would if you have to go ahead and pay Jeff Keighley, or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did.
Yeah, no, I remember the E3
200.
prices were insane though.
It's 250 for 60 minutes, 350 for 90 minutes, and then was it 500 for a full 2 minutes or something like that? I don't know, it's just outrageous prices that were reported as far as by Kotaku and others on regard the Summer Game Fest to show a video there by if you're an independent developer. So big
It's
money
like Super
in
Bowl
these
money,
games.
yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, big money indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on the Nintendo Direct? Josh liked it. I liked it. I certainly don't think it was the home run that Xbox hit, but still a very solid, very good Nintendo Direct. And I will be playing the Metroid Prime 4 most likely when that comes out, if it's available for the Nintendo Switch. I don't know. We'll see if it's Switch 2 game, if it's going to be both. We'll find out. But what are your thoughts out there on the Nintendo Direct? Please let us know your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, we're back for the final segment of the day. And you have left it a surprise for me to touch on for the last 18 minutes or so. What's your thoughts on what will be facing the franchise today?
Okay, so I've been working on our project, our secret project. We're not ready to announce yet, but I came
Okay.
across a review that you wrote. I think it was back
Oh,
in
that's scary.
2016. No,
Was it written
2000
in
like
crayon?
no, it was washable marker, with the scented kind.
Okay.
Um I want to throw something at you because there are rumors, not rumors. It's been all but confirmed that we're going to be seeing a brand new movie in the Jason Bourne franchise. And I remember reading your review of the last one, and you weren't a really big fan of that. Despite a lot of it being filmed like on your doorstep out there in Las Vegas. So I want to talk to
You mean
you.
the Bourne movies, aka the walking simulators?
The walking simulators, yeah, and they always have the same soundtrack at the end of every one.
Moby.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So first of all, though, I wanna what are your opinion just of the Bourne movies themselves? So we have Bourne
I will.
Identity, Bourne Supremacy, Bourne
Mhm.
Ultimatum, Bourne Legacy, and Jason Bourne. There's 5.
Okay. Excellent choice, by the way. I want to first mention you hit me up with this, and I want to say it is really well done. You went out of your way this time to really get me good on it. I will tell you that the first, I want to say the first four I liked, varying levels of degrees of like. I really think the Born Identity, the first one, obviously it set the tone. And I really was a good film for me. Born Supremacy was a great follow up. It was when you're in a theater watching it, as I did, I just thought, it's that heart thumping. It was intense. The political games, as far as tying in the treadway, and all that, uh, that type of deal. I know they couldn't get him back, so they got Jeremy Renner in there for the Bourne Legacy. I am of the ilk. I liked the Bourne Legacy. I didn't love the Bourne Legacy, but I liked the Bourne Legacy. They put Jeremy Renner in a position, not enviable position, to going ahead and having to, for the time being, because they couldn't get, of course, Matt Damon to do it. So they got him to do it, and I thought he did good on it. It was the last movie. It just seemed like Matt Damon was going through the motions in many
Mhm.
ways, to my best recollection of it. I don't know if that it reflects that in my review. I saw that around the same time as I saw Star Trek Beyond. It's same thing. Just seemed like both of those movies, both of those casts were going through the motions, and I didn't feel the same kind of excitement from both of those casts or stars that I had felt in previous films. I think now, because we're seeing Matt Damon playing a variety of roles. It's so funny because he's coming out with a movie pretty soon. Hong Chao, who appeared with him in the remember when they were in that movie where they got smaller, the movie that they shrunk. Do you remember
Downsizing.
that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
downsizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's in this movie with upcoming movie with him. He is not always in hit movies anymore. He was in Air, he was in Oppenheimer, but he does a lot of other movies as well. So I think that now is a good time to bring it back. but to give you get back on the train with you on my previous thoughts on the films, I really think that it started out so strong with movies number 1 and 2 with the Bourne Identity and the Bourne Supremacy, and we saw with Clive Owen and other, stars that were playing off him, you know, got stars that were willing to go ahead and just be in there. Some of the cases they were before they were stars and be able to really play off well. Chris Cooper is really underrated in this series as Conklin. Really underrated.
That's
Brian
right.
Cox is
Yeah.
in it. Just yeah, really good cast in the first ones.
Julia
Really,
Stiles. That's a
y-
she hardly says
exactly.
anything, but she's got so much like depth and emotion in her expressions.
Absolutely, and she was really good. Then she dropped off the face of the earth, I think, and then she came back for one of the later ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, as
Yep.
far as the acting scene is concerned, so it was really weird how that worked out. But again, Carl Urban was in the second one. Another just quick role for him, but it was really important as well. Just it, and I don't know. It just for me, it just seems like it's a really good film series. And Joan Allen, she took over one of the main roles later on in the series in the Bourne Ultimatum as Pam Landy. She
Pamela,
was
yeah.
really good in it too. Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. Like honestly, I think Matt Damon was great, but like she was one of the best parts of that movie because she's able to play that role so well. And I think that is what one of the things that the Jason Bourne, that the last film was missing, was that as much as I like Alicia Vikander, I don't think that was a good role for her. Like that she was not the powerful female that Pamela Landy was, that really like gave what am I trying to say? Gave strength to that type of role.
Well, the thing is, and that also it would keep interest for Matt Damon because in the Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, and Bourne Ultimatum, you had a somebody that was working against you,
Mhm.
or in some cases working for you with that, as far as a handler or the person the charge of the organization is supposed to stop you. With the CIA, it's very the political intrigue, the organization, governmental intrigue into it. That end of it, you don't know who is on which side, who is working, to try and help Jason Bourne characters, Matt Damon's character, who is not, who is working against. It's just, it really does a good job of trying to go ahead and fill in the gray. It's not black or white. It's levels of gray, and I really think that if you get a chance, the first three are really worth your time. And again, I like the Bourne Legacy. I didn't love it, but I think it was never going to succeed. All apologies to Jeremy Renner, because by that time, movie audiences had associated the Bourne character with Matt Damon. But Matt Damon, I knew he was still riding high at a level at that time. He probably was tired of the series. You could tell on the third movie he's kind of a little fatigued in that series as far as it's concerned, and just him coming back for it, I think it's going to lead to better series going forward. But you got to have someone to play off with. In this case, Alicia Vikander, just wasn't the didn't move me. I didn't feel any thoughts of the surmountable threat that was going to happen to Matt Damon at any time.
Yeah, it felt more like he was messing with them as opposed to, them messing with him. It's funny though, because if you look the original Bourne movies, I want to say, um, they were
A
directed
year.
by Doug Liman. He directed the
Hmm.
first three, and it was written by Paul Greengrass and produced, I think, by Paul
Yes.
Greengrass. Anyways,
Well, they're based off
uh,
I think novel
Robert
series.
Ludlum. Yeah, Robert
Yeah.
Ludlum's stories, and the first three Bourne books, like that was the original story that Jason Ludlum was set out to tell. And then, Eric Van Lustbader, I think his name was, came up and picked up, Bourne Legacy. And I think he writes them now, and he's Bourne's become sort of like a James Bond type character. But um if you look at the directing styles between the first three Bourne movies and Bourne Legacy, there's completely different. Where you get Lehman's like really choppy editing in his fight scenes, right? He has the quick takes. You get to see the punch and the kick and the flip and things like that. They're really quick. And then you watch Bourne Legacy, which was directed by Justin Lim, who did the Fast and the Furious franchise. You can see it's more the scenes are longer. There's not a lot of cuts. You see a lot of explosions as opposed to hand combat. Like there's a lot of different editing styles, but from what I understand, they're supposed to make another legacy film. There's one, like, it was already in production, and then when Matt Damon came back for Jason Bourne, they were like, "Well, we don't want to take focus off of Jason Bourne if he's going to come back. We would rather, do a Jason Bourne centered film as opposed to Jeremy Renner." So I feel like there is a world in which both of these characters can exist and maybe even cross over at some point, but I don't feel like these Bourne, whatever films are meant for single films. I think that they're better with long form storytelling, and I think they're meant for one, two, three, or sorry, two or three films as opposed to just a single compact story in one movie.
Well, I just talked about briefly The Instigators, which him and Casey Affleck and Hung Chow are heavily involved with. Alfred Molina as well, Ron Perlman, Ving Rhames, Paul Walter Hauser. Really good cast coming up here for this Apple TV Plus movie that's coming up here in the not too distant future. So look at The Instigators. Who directed it? Josh? None other than Doug Liman. What do you know?
Ah, yeah, the dream team, right? And it's funny because Matt Damon refuses to work with anybody on the Bourne films except for Paul Greengrass and Doug Liman.
Doug
So
Liman.
really interesting. He's got his team of people, man. And if we want to see another Bourne anything in that universe with Matt Damon, you got to have the right people on board for it.
Lehman just directed what came out earlier this year with Jake Gyllenhaal and Roadhouse, the Roadhouse remake on Amazon, which did pretty good numbers from what I'm hearing. I didn't like it personally, but it did pretty good overall. I know that, so he's doing well. So it isn't out of the realm of possibility this series being revived with one more Matt Damon, Jason Bourne movie. That's not out of the realm of possibility since Doug obviously still works with Matt on that. So we'll see, my friend. It'd be very interesting to see how it plays out. I would be willing to go to more. I'm not going to let the last Jason Bourne movie basically, do me in. I think I'm going to give another one another chance. The question I have for you is, though, on this, do you think they'll do the Hollywood thing? And if they don't get a deal done with Doug Liman and Matt Damon, who, again, they're just working together now, so they're still working together. Do you think they'll go ahead and reboot it with someone else?
That's a great question. And, maybe go like the route that the Reacher series did after Tom Cruise left the role, and maybe go to like an Amazon Prime type show. That's a really, really great question because that type of story would make more sense over the course of what, 8, 10 hour 1 hour episodes. So who knows?
Reacher's been
But
a
I guess
great
the
hit for Amazon.
Reacher certainly has. But I guess like the big question here too is anybody interested in the Jason Bourne story beyond figuring out what happened to him, his origins, how did he get in the position he was in, which is what all four of the films that Jason Bourne is in, which is that's what those are about. Is anyone interested in seeing him take on a contractor role for the government or a James Bond type role, isn't he? Because that's kind of where they would have to go from here because there's not anything, there's no more story left to mine involving his background.
Could you see it playing itself out over a 6 to 10 episode arc over an entire season? Let's say Amazon Prime. I'm just throwing that out there. But like Mr.
Mhm.
and Mrs. Smith, we just got done with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Pretty successful in its own right. They've already approved it for season 2 with, I believe, different actors playing the role of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Your
Yeah.
thoughts, though, again, if a Bourne does go to streaming, they could, go the way of a 6 to 10 episode series.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly could, and I would not be opposed to it. And I know that there's a lot of liberties were taken with the Bourne films too, because they were the timeline is different, and the events that happened in the book are different. So, yeah, I mean, if they were to go ahead and make something truer to the source material, like it might really do well, but it also doesn't, that type of thing doesn't put you in the running for what do you call them, the Academy Awards or whatever, actors and filmmakers are trying to get these days.
Well, I don't think that even if a Bourne does get made by Doug Liman and Matt Damon, that would be of any consideration. Those movies are only out for one thing, is trying to get you to get to the box office and get back to the theaters and watch that for action and fast walking and do and a Moby
Yeah,
score at the end.
the
That's what they're
movie
actually
score.
getting you for.
Yeah,
Yes.
classic
And
Moby.
yes, and everybody was involved with Treadway and, and all that other stuff and, the intrigue and whatnot, and people slamming phones when they're upset because Jason Bourne got away and all that stuff. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think what people more into. I don't think it's going to be whatever going to do. It's going to be Emmy or Oscar consideration anytime soon.
Yeah, but also, there if they were to make more films, there's been a lot of crazy things going on in the world that they could adapt to, which might be, of some interest to somebody with involving Jason Bourne. So, who knows, man? Who knows? I'm with you though. I will definitely give this franchise another shot. I didn't hate the last movie; it wasn't my favorite, but if they're going to open the door, I would hope that they're planning to have it open for at least 2 more films.
We'll find out what's going to go on with the future of course, Jason Bourne. Please let us know your thoughts on the Bourne movies. Would you like to see it stay as a Bourne movie set with Matt Damon reprising his role, Doug Liman directing, Paul Greengrass writing, or would you like to see it evolve into a series like we're seeing other properties of that ilk? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, any last updates on the Happy Hoarder before we head on out?
Not anything new to write about. We got some shows coming up here in August. So we got the Bell County Comic Con and Colossal Con out in Round Rock, Texas. Bell County is in Bell County. So, yeah, if you're out in Central Texas, come check us out. I'm gonna have a brand spanking new website up, by the time fall gets here, so you can do some Christmas shopping, and I'll drop some discount codes on the show here. So just keep following us.
And always looking at the back of your studio there, I always can say that Pops may be on the list.
You know what Pringles say? Once you pop, the fun don't stop.
Indeed. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.